Hey everybody, I'm Karyn Bryant for MMA Heat. Of course, I'm here with Liz Carmouche. She is fighting Lauren Murphy at UFC Fairfax, and I'm excited to see you. It's been too long. So how good does it feel to finally have another fight lined up?
I've been so anxious. I mean, it's been a year and I keep bothering them. I've been antagonizing them. Hey, can I have a fight? Can I have a fight? They're like, yeah, yeah, next month, pushing it off until a year later. I mean, they had me suspended for a possible hand injury, and I was good after the first month and cleared, but they wanted to just take time with it and just make sure. And then after that, it was almost impossible to get a fight booked.
Well, I hear that from a lot of the women, certainly bantamweights, and now that the straws are there as well, it's something that's really difficult mathematically, I think, even just to get you guys on the cards. But did you get worried at all, in that time that maybe you were fading from their memory? You know what I mean? Because there's always new girls coming in.
Yeah, I definitely did
Yeah.
because it got to a point where it was like, yeah, maybe next month, and then not hearing back, and that month has already come and gone. And so I started to reach out and I was like, hey guys, just want to make sure you haven't forgotten about me. And then I heard from other women in the bantamweight and the straw weights that it just wasn't happening. That women in general, they just reduced all the fights for 2015. So it was difficult for anybody to get a fight.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this at UFC Tonight the other day because, yeah, mathematically, literally for Sean and Joe, there can only be X amount of, I guess, lighter weight fights on there, so you're included in that. And when you do the math about how many people are on the roster and all the stuff, it's impossible. So I threw out the idea. I said, hey, they need to just start doing more sort of Sunday cards or something where it's welters and below or something like that because we miss you guys. Like I feel like the fans too. I want you fresh in my memory, so I feel for you in that situation. So what did you think though when they offered this fight? This opponent, was there somebody else that you would have preferred?
No, after having it been so long, I just wanted to get back in there. I didn't care. They said, hey, we have a possible fight. I went, yes. Like, do you want to know who it is? Okay, sure, absolutely. I was just going to say yes, no matter who it was.
Right.
You want to put a man in front of me? I don't care. I just want to get back in there and fight. That's all I care about. So when they said Lauren Murphy, I was like, oh, actually, I know Lauren Murphy. Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. Then yes, again, I'm going to say yes. Let's take this fight.
Very cool. So how do you see, this matchup stylistically? What do you think that she does well versus what you do well?
I think it's a really good matchup. It's again, more and more the women are adapting to being well-rounded fighters. Before it seemed like you could see a distinction where we had our grapplers, we had our strikers, and now all that they're just developing so well with all the different programs that are out there
Yeah.
that I'm seeing much more well-rounded fighters. So it's a lot. I feel like a much more exciting fight because it can go anywhere. It truly is an MMA fight, and that anything could happen.
Yeah, I feel that way too, and it's nice to see that coming along. And I feel like it's going exponentially faster now too. Do you know what I mean? I
Oh, yeah.
feel like there was a lot of women, like you said, with solid skills, and now I'm seeing things like, wow, that was fantastic. And I feel like you guys are learning very fast. Just for example, with Amanda Nunes, she had a great first round against Kat, then didn't. And I feel like this time when she came out, she was much more purpose driven. And I mean, granted that fight was a lot shorter with Shayna, but you know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah.
she adapted quickly and changed some things.
I definitely feel like within the last 3 years, since women have entered into the UFC, I feel like the learning curve is so dramatic from what it was. To watch those fights, when I look back and I watch female fights 5 years ago, they don't even look like it's been. It feels like that's 20 years ago. The evolution has been so fast and so dramatic. It's amazing to see where it's going and the potential that it has to go now.
Well, it was great because we had UFC 184 and Rocky and Holly had a good fight, and right the night before was Invicta, and it was great. What I loved too was that Dana and Lorenzo were there at the Invicta show, and they were blown away. And so it's just more and more are coming, and I think it's great. And ultimately, maybe they'll get 125ers. I know that there's some people clamoring for that. Your last opponent, Misha Tate, has said before, if there was a 125er, she would like to fight there. But I do want to talk about that Misha fight for you because it was very close. So I'm wondering how you feel in hindsight, in the moment. How are you feeling when the announcement was being made, and just in general, how what you walked away from that fight with?
I walked away with the idea that you can never let it go to decision. You never know what the judges. I even talked to Misha afterwards, plenty of fans, other people. Everybody thought that the first 2 rounds were mine, the third round was Misha's. And that math just doesn't add up for Misha winning, including
Yeah.
herself. And I walked away going, I really don't understand what happened. And I know better. I know that you can never let it go to decision. Even if it's in state, judges are humans, and it could be as simple as they waited to the end of the fight to tally it up, or she had flashier clothing, so they watched her the whole time and didn't see me. It could be anything. And when you leave it to the judges, you leave the possibility that no matter how it happened, even if I bloodied her up, almost submitted her a million times, right, that they could see something I didn't see and the fight could go other way. So I walked away with that going, I can never let that happen again. When it goes to decision, that's where the risks are taken, right, and I need to end that fight and end it strong.
So to that end, then, does that mean you'll let your hands go more? Because I feel like I remember afterwards, Misha was like, well, she didn't really hurt me though, maybe it, and in my mind you seemed, yes, to be controlling action, but the idea of letting your hands go more, that is something that judges notice. Every time you touch, you could be scoring more points there. So is that something that maybe you're kind of working toward, is just kind of liberating that and letting it go?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something I've worked on more with both of my stand-up, just in every aspect of my game, to be relentless to the point where I should be walking out of there 30 minutes after sparring and I can't hold myself up. I want to be that exhausted. And that's definitely what we've been pushing for that type of cardio, that type of relentless power in the fight, so that I can reflect it in this one as well.
Well, not to say, though, that some of the tricks in your bag don't work, because you were this close to being the champion. You were this close. That was bananas. I remember that night. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. This is insane. So obviously, strategically, your grappling is still something that, you don't want to let go of.
No, and of course not. But that's even to say that when I took her down, I wasn't as aggressive as I normally am on the ground, and I should have been. And that's something that needs to change and evolve as well. And I feel like I really haven't shown the fans my grappling ability and my jiu-jitsu. The submission abilities haven't been shown off. And that's definitely something I look forward to showing off, is just what other tools and secrets I have in the box to show off for this fight.
Nice. Well, I noticed on Twitter, it looks like you're sharpening some of those tools with some of the women that were on The Ultimate Fighter. I saw you in there with Jessica Penny, Rowdy Beck. How did that come around? Because not too long, I guess sort of along that same timeline, you're tweeting out, hey, anybody want to come down and spar? I need some sparring partners. I think I even tweeted, I was like, yeah, Liz, I'll work on my cardio. I was like, I'll just come and run around. You can just, you know what I mean? But so tell me about how you got together with those girls and what that experience was like for you.
Well, my coach Manolo, he's really good friends with Oyama from Rain, and Panay was training there, so we developed a relationship with all of them through that. And then we'd offer, like, hey, if you ever want to come down, we have some smaller women. I know it's difficult to find sparring, and you're always worrying about the women in your weight class possibly facing up with them later. We don't have any egos. We're not looking to kill you. If you want to come and you want to practice, get some good work in, by all means, we really like you. Please do that. And then through her boyfriend, we're able to work on some wrestling stuff. It's like, yeah, I'd love to. I'm always about learning more wrestling. You can't, in this sport, be stagnant in anything. You have to grow. So anything you offer me, I'm going to go, yes, please. I'm going to take this. I'll take this. Absolutely. So when they also offer the opportunity to come up and work for wrestling, I was like, yes, sign me up. I absolutely, I'm for that. Let's do this.
That's awesome. I love it. And when I had to do the tough talks, the things after The Ultimate Fighter, certainly there was some tension, but I do still feel that collectively, female fighters are kinder to each other than unkind. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, that there is a sense of, unity there, and that you guys are all working toward a common goal, whether or not individually you guys are trying to be champions. You feel that way?
No, I absolutely do. I feel like in the women's divisions, there's a lot more sportsmanlike attitude. Yeah. Not to say that there is in the men's. You just don't hear the level of animosity that you do with men. Right. And maybe it's just that we haven't figured out yet how to hype up our fights well enough, and we're just not doing it right. Because I know when I talk to the men after the fights, it was just like they just did it for the fight to build it up. They did exactly what they needed to, and that's all it is. And I certainly see the men working together, but there's that separate division, whereas women, we're still so small. They were all just trying to go to the same goal, and whatever it takes to get there, we're going to help each other do it.
I am curious how you feel about Ronda and how, she's handled herself as a champion. She can be divisive, to some people at times. So what do you think of her?
I go back and forth. I think what she's doing is building the sport. It's one of those things where you can be upset with everything that she says, but the reality is if you want somebody to lose, you're going to tune in to watch them lose. So she's doing everything it takes to bring that attention to the fight. And she's going through different venues to get that. And everybody wants to see, is this kind of time going to be different? So she's doing everything right. You can be upset with that, but the reality is we all know everybody's going to tune in to see, will this time be different? Will she do something different? Is she going to lose? We want to see her lose. So she's doing exactly what it takes to build up the division.
It's interesting because I people ask me about her a lot. You know, people on the street that I hear, hey, what's Conor McGregor really like? But you know, that's one name I hear a lot, and people are curious about Ronda. And I think, you know, yes, she's a spectacular athlete and she's doing a lot of good things. This was, you know, the fact that this woman can meet with the governor of New York or get on Good Morning America. I mean, that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. I don't think Betch Correia is going to beat her. How do you think that one's going to go? I don't think because I feel like she's going to play right into her game. Like, get close and get, you know what I mean? Get dangerous, get tangled up.
No, and I agree. And I really like what Ronda's doing and that she's bringing MMA to the mainstream.
Yeah.
And, you know, if the more that we see her involved in any television outlet, anything that MMA fighters have not been able to get into, any of the venues have not been able to get into, the more that she can do that for us, it's not just going to help women's MMA, it's going to help the whole sport, sponsorship, everything that we need to build the sport up. She's doing it. So you have to appreciate the work she's putting in, because that's a lot of energy that she's exerting by doing all of that media stuff.
Absolutely. And, you know, newcomers, we have somebody like Paige Van Zandt who, again, with the like, sometimes you make these statements, and she knows, she's aware of her sexuality. She knows that being cute is part of the game, and she's got a Reebok deal before Carla got it as the champion. But it's a dangerous line, you know what I mean, to bank on your sexuality too much. I feel like she's so new in the division. I kind of wanted her to get a couple more fights, you know, a couple more fights in before that. But that's something that, you know, is often forced upon the women, that you guys need to do that. And you've always just been like, hey, I'm Liz, it's cool, I am what I am, and haven't really had to play that game. But, you know, do you feel that that's a challenge that, you know, is unfair that women are put to this? Because I had this conversation with Dominic Cruz the other day, and, you know, he was talking about this fighter or that fighter. I don't think this one's hot and this and that. I looked at him and I was like, oh, so the whole male roster is totally super hot. I'm sorry, I didn't get that memo. You know, but there is a real expectation that you guys all have to look super hot in miniskirts too.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like there's a pressure there, and I've certainly had mentions of it that I should try and utilize those tools and play into a little bit more. And it's just one of the things where I'm like, that's just not me. You know, if my personality and who I am can't sell my fights, if people don't want to see the performance that I put on, then I don't want to go towards these other tools to try and do that. It's just not who I am. And it's going to force me out of a box and into something that is just going to be uncomfortable. I mean, me wearing heels is never going to be comfortable. It's going to be me breaking my ankle, embarrassing, falling over, which is great laughs for everybody. And I'm sure they enjoy it, but it'd be horrible for me.
I think you were telling me that time when we went down to your gym, and you said, yeah, you had to do it for a photo shoot or something, and it was just the most uncomfortable thing.
It was horrible. Yeah. For me, it was horrible. I've never worn heels before. It was the first time I ever wore heels. And I was reassured it would not be in the pictures. It was simply to elongate my curves or something along those lines. And the whole time I'm like, oh. And it was
well, I can relate. I was always such a tomboy growing up. I didn't have heels till, you know, in my 20s or something like that. And yeah, I was so not used to it. And I still, when you see me at work with them on, like, I have slippers that I put on seconds after that shot is taken, because I just, you know, it's hard for me as well. But you know, it's part of the gig. Unfortunately, you know, kind of on a tangent, kind of related to that. Obviously, you have a military past, and I was listening to NPR the other day, and a lot of people are talking about how their women are, you know, training to possibly be on the front lines, and now they're going through, you know, some really intense training to see if they can be equals. Curious how you feel about that, and was that something that you ever considered, you know, hey, I would like to be on the front line, or were you cool with not?
Oh, no, that was when I first tried to sign up in the Marine Corps. I was like, that's exactly what I asked to do. I'm like, I want to do this, this, and this. And they're like, well, you know, your test scores, you could definitely do that. There's just one huge quality about you that kind of limits you from doing that. And I was like, okay, I'm listening. You're a woman. Oh, okay, well, I want to do this one. No, you're a woman. Okay, well, just tell me what I can do. Right. And they limited. So absolutely, everything that women have available to them now are all the jobs that I want to do in the Marine Corps. I wanted to be on the front line. I wanted to do counterintelligence and go undercover and jump out of planes. That's what I wanted to do, was that intense stuff. And every opportunity I got where I could get as close to as possible to it, I tried for it. I'm like, yes, sign me up, please, let me go. I want to go on patrols. I want to go do this and that. So the idea that it's now open to women and they can step up and show just how capable they are to do that and to exceed the expectations, I think that's wonderful that women can do that, because they're going to show that we're durable, we have the strengths, mentally we're oftentimes stronger than other people. You can watch through PTSD, the effects it has on women are different than men.
Is that right?
So you're going to see their ability on the front lines to exceed what men can do.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, but I guess in a way, if you think about women in general, process so much more mental noise and negative things maybe than guys do. I didn't know that about the PTSD. That's very interesting.
Yeah, women and men process, with anything, women and men process things differently, and PTSD is certainly one of those things that manifests differently. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, you'll see women still be able to endure something where their body is already broken down and mentally has broke to the event, but they can still push past it. Where in other occasions, maybe a man might break. Right. It's still something that they're experimenting and kind of learning about as women are now transitioning into the front line. So it'll be something in 5 years we'll probably have a little bit more of an idea of. Very
cool. Now, but you're near Camp Pendleton. Can you go down and do you train with them still? I mean, can't you? You know what I mean? I feel like you should still be able to go and get have some fun down there. I even got to drive an pilot an LCAC one time for a show that I was doing. I was like, this is amazing. But I would think maybe you could still go down there and do some stuff with them.
Yeah, there's definitely been kind of like thoughts in my brain in the back of my head, wondering if I should maybe go back in and kind of do some of that fun stuff I wanted to do before, because it was everything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Being an electrician on helicopters was the last thing on my list. I specifically said, I do not want to be an electrician. Right. And of course, everybody knows whatever you told the recruiters I don't want to do, that's typically what you get tricked into. And I did. So the idea that I could possibly go back in and do the job that I really wanted to do, that my heart had a connection to, it's playing in the back of my head like, maybe. And I go, I don't know. I kind of still want to follow the MMA dream. So let me see where that takes me first.
Yes, I'm not trying to push you out of it at all. You know what I mean? But I just feel like, there's got to be that part of you itching. Speaking of your MMA dreams and moving the career forward. So you did commentary for Titan, yes?
Yes, I did.
How'd it go? How'd you feel?
It was pretty awesome. So many times in fights, you just see the culmination of everything come together. You don't understand the wiring and everything backstage that's going on. So to be a part of that and realize how much work they put into it, I don't think a lot of people really understand. There was a meeting. I flew in that day. I go to the weigh-ins right away, check into my hotel room, and then we're having a meeting, and it's minute-by-minute breakdown of how the fight's gonna go. Not just like, oh, okay, here's your idea, and then they're like, okay, and when you get back to your room, make sure you research this, and this. I'm like, nobody's told me I was gonna have homework.
Right.
No. I got out of college for a reason. I got my associates. I got out. Please, no more homework.
Yeah.
And just to see it, it's really awesome because production is what builds it up and makes that fight exciting. Yes. You can go in there, you see the smaller shows in San Diego, and they have fights. People don't tune in and want to watch that on TV. They want to watch for these big organizations that put on a show for you, and to see what it takes is just awesome. And then to get to learn more about the fighters and really be invested in them was really cool.
No, it's amazing, and that's the thing, and especially too, guys like John, Anna, Kenny, these guys are so hyper prepared too, and that's the thing, and I always feel bad, like they do so much work, and then you go out there and maybe there's a flash knockout, and it's exciting and everything, and then I think about like all the notes and all the research, you know what I mean? You're like, I studied for 5 hours on that fight, and it's over. Like I had all this good stuff to say. But it's great. I love that you're doing that. I know obviously Julie does it with Invicta and stuff too, so it's great to see some more women getting into it there. It's awesome. And it's fun, and I think people don't understand too, like you said, it's more challenging than people imagine. Like, oh, you just showed up and you just talked about some fights. I'm like, no, they kind of didn't. They kind of did a little more than that. Well, awesome. I'm excited. Actually, I had a couple more questions about you though. So for the fact that you did have so much time off, did you ever consider, I know we talked about you go with Jessica and stuff, but like traveling around, a lot of people actually really leave home now and kind of go to this camp and go to that camp. Was there ever a consideration of that? Like, hey, I have the time now, let me go get some looks somewhere else?
No, I definitely, and I've done a lot more traveling for this fight than I have for any other fight. Usually I'm at home, it's kind of like, hey, do you mind coming out and helping me out? But I've actually traveled to different teams to go spar with the guys and the women that they have to try and see. I've gone for wrestling. I've gone for striking instruction with all these different people to try and make sure that I'm the best person I can be for this fight. That was something we haven't done. As far as actually stepping away and doing a camp, in my head, it's a nice idea, but I almost feel like I'll be in my head way too much.
Yeah.
Because you can only train so many hours in a day. Yeah. And with this, I can step out at any time and train, and then I can go train somebody else. And when I teach my classes, when I work one-on-one with people and help them achieve their goals, it gives me an inspiration, and then it re-establishes all the fundamentals for me. So if something I was missing in practice, I go, oh, that's why I did that. And then I teach it in class. I'm like, yeah, that's what I need to do differently. And then I know for that night in sparring exactly what I'm going to do differently. So it helps me a lot to just be rooted where I'm at. And I think if I went to a camp, I would lose focus of all those things.
Yeah. That makes sense. So go ahead and give yourself a plug if people want to come and train with you. Where do they go? Because that would be pretty excellent.
Yeah, unlike other places, we accept everybody. It doesn't really matter. And they can just come to San Diego Combat Academy. We have 2 locations, one in Mission Valley and one in Kearney Mesa. If they go to the website, sdcombatacademy.com, all the info is right there with the phone numbers. And if they call here, I will answer the phone.
I love that. And lastly, I know the fights are earlier. I'll actually be at Fox, so I'll be seeing, we'll be talking to you, at the weigh-in show and on fight night and stuff. But it's earlier in the day for you. Do you know what time you're fighting? Because I think the first prelim is at 10 a.m. or something, the first kind of Fox prelim. So you're fighting at like noon?
Yeah, I think it's really early, which is...
Well, I guess it's 10 a.m. I think...
It's going to be... This is the first time I've been on the prelim card since I started fighting.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a different thing for me altogether. And I've never gotten out of a fight early. Every time I get out there, I'm like, I'm so hungry. Yeah. What can I go find? And it's kind of like, oh, I guess Denny's for post-fight meal. Yay.
Right.
Great. Yeah. So it's the first time where I'm like, I get to eat. I really get to eat. I maybe get to see the state that I'm in. So I'm actually really excited because that never gets to happen. I'll see daylight after my fight.
I know, it's amazing. Well, good. I'm excited for it, except I'm not excited. I have a 4 a.m. call time on Saturday. Ouch, that hurts a little. But listen, you guys are working way harder than I am, so I will suck it up because I'll get there and someone will hand me a coffee and a Red Bull and whatever I need.
There you go.
So I can suck it up. But it's awesome catching up with you. I'm so glad that you're finally back in action because it has been way too long. Really looking forward to seeing you go out there and do your thing. So thanks for talking with me today.
And thank you so much. It was great seeing you again.